so they'll find any way. For them, third world people life is but a small price to be paid.
If you come to Jamaica as a tourist, this is what you will see. If you come by airplane, you will certainly land in Montego Bay and certainly not in Kingston.
Welcome to Jamaica. What's all this for us to? We're glad that you joined us. We'll be waiting for you. Welcome to Jamaica. Turn you on and home. Welcome to Jamaica. This feel is your own. We're proud of Jamaica.
You are thinking of the hard and cold and long days you spent working, earning money so that you could stay in this place, Jamaica, where the sun must always shine, where the climate is deliciously hot and dry, at least for the 4 to 10 days you will stay here. You are indifferent to the fact that you can enter this country simply by showing your driver's license. You are indifferent to this fact because you can travel anywhere. The thought that a citizen of Jamaica would have to give an exhaustive account of how and why they have lived to visit your native country must never cross your mind. Since you're a tourist, you do not travel with stacks of cardboard boxes containing much-needed cheap clothes and food for relatives.
What do you have in your bags?
That has nothing to do with counting them, my dear.
You move through customs swiftly. You move through customs with ease. Your bags are not searched. On your way out of the airport, you stop to make an exchange of money.
Make it $2.50. Thank you. 20, please. How are you?
You are excited by the large sheaf of Jamaican dollars you get in exchange for your $20.
You're gonna get $1,850.
1,850. I feel rich right now.
We'll go fast.
How much does it cost for a shirt down here? An average. How much does it cost for a T-shirt down here?
You have not yet been to a shop to see how little your large sheaf of money can buy. It would not occur to you that the weakness of your newly traded money is a result of many devaluations imposed by the International Monetary Fund.
The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is urging Jamaica to reverse the declining fiscal deficit as a catalyst for economic growth.
To understand the International Monetary Fund, it is best to go back to history. We come to 1944. The war is coming near to an end. The Allies were determined not to have the war finish and end up in the mess of the 1930s.
At Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, delegates from 44 allied and associate countries arrived for the opening of the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference.
The key institution set up was the International Monetary Fund. And the purpose of the fund was to have a bank they could turn to for short-term borrowing to serve the short-term trading interests of the winners of the war.
United States Treasury Secretary Morgenthau heads the American delegation. To be discussed are plans for the stabilization of world currencies.
Same time, they set up the World Bank to provide capital for the rebuilding of Europe. You have to remember what we now know as the Third World didn't exist. There were a few major powers, each of which had a large empire. We had no voice, we had no presence, we just were part of somebody else's power structure. You ask whose interest? Ask the question, who set it up?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, pleasant evening and welcome to my island home, Jamaica. Now, you'll realize that we drive on the left-hand side of the road. Might seem wrong, but the right side is suicide. All right, so sit back, relax, and do enjoy. Feel free to ask any questions. I am Kerry, and this is your driver, Spin Letter. Coming up on the left-hand side, we have Sandoz Royal Jamaica. Right here, we have Butch Stewart, who is the sole owner.
You are driving on a road, and it is called the Queen's Highway. When it was built, we were ruled over by something called a queen. We do not have a queen anymore.
We have our very own McDonald's, Baskin Robbins, right on on the left-hand side, right-hand side, I beg your pardon. So hey, we have it also in Ultra. If you want to ever go for ice cream, therapy, pat down.
When we wished for independence from Great Britain, we had something else in mind. We cannot now remember what that was. So you could imagine how I felt when one day driving on the Queen's Highway I asked myself, is the Jamaica that I see before me self-ruled, a worse off place than it was when dominated by the bad-minded English?
My government in the United Kingdom has laid down its responsibilities and has ceased to have any authority in and over Jamaica after more than 300 years.
One love, oh Lord, one heart, oh, let's join together.
Countries like Jamaica found that when they became free, they soon were in every kind of financial problem because they didn't have the economic strength to, shall we say, make it on their own. They needed time to build economies that could then make it in the world. When you see what all the food from abroad costs, you realize that the food production to feed ourselves in Jamaica is not only a matter of opportunity for you, it's a matter of survival for the nation. Comes 1973, there is a world convulsion caused by the oil price increases. All of a sudden, we are having to find sums of money we never dreamed of before just to make ends meet. Now, what can you do? First of all, you go to the private banking system and you see, well, can I get a private banking loan? Because I'm strapped for cash, I need some support, and I'm having trouble paying my overseas bills.
When the private banks won't lend to you, then you've got to do something if you're the leader of a country. And typically what you've got to do is to cut back your spending in some way and try and get more money so that the impact of those cutbacks are not as severe as they otherwise would be. And it's at that point that you generally come to the IMF.
We are not for sale. And tell them anytime they are willing to deal with an honorable Jamaica based on principles, sovereignty, pride and dignity, then we will talk the investment of the money.
Bear in mind, this is a country literally beginning to unravel because it cannot finance what it needs.
And we would say, yep, that's true. We understand the crisis you're in, and we need to fix the underlying reasons for that crisis. And so here is what we think needs doing.
What you really need is to sit down with them and say, look, can I work out a 5-year program? And in the meantime, I'm strapped for some cash, so can you help me up front get out of the cash bind and then put it in the context of a long-term development plan? And they said, no, long-term development is your problem. We are here only to see who do you owe the money to, why are you in a bind, and we'll lend you some money in a very short time frame at full interest rate to get you out of the bind. And they then impose upon you tremendous restrictions in what you can spend.
And then we reach agreement on a set of measures on the budget, on the exchange rate, on monetary policy, on interest rates, on banks, on maybe privatization, and say, yep, we think this could solve your problem.
And you say to them, but if I do it that way, when I finish repaying you, I'm going to be in the bind all over because this can't solve my problem. They say, not our problem.
Okay, this is the banana plantation.